Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the Cyber Gizmo, I'm going to be talking a little bit about, some of the news that's been going on here lately. And let's just dig into it. We'll get into it right now. As you probably know, there's been an announcement by Ubuntu to drop support for Flatpaks. In that announcement, K-Wish said, as part of our combined efforts, the Ubuntu flavors have made a joint decision to adjust some of the default packages on Ubuntu. Going forward, the Flatpak package, as well as the packages to integrate Flatpak into the respective software center, will no longer be installed by default. In the next release, due in April 2023, that's Lunar Lobster. Canonical's decision impacts, of course, 2304, and then any future versions that get released. And that includes all of the flavors of Ubuntu. That'd be Kubuntu, Xubuntu, all of those. However, other distributions that are based on Ubuntu, say like Linux Mint or Pop! OS, those are unaffected. And in fact, both of them do support Flatpaks. You'll be able to install Flatpak support from either the software center or the command line. It's just that it won't be done for you automatically. I guess the first thing we should probably do is take a step back and talk a little bit about what the two technologies here are. And I'm going to talk a little bit about AppImage too, because I don't think you can really leave out any one of these in order to talk about them. So Canonical developed Snaps, and they developed that back in, I think the first time I saw it was 2015, maybe, somewhere around in there. It was part of Ubuntu Touch. So Red Hat developers independently developed Flatpaks, and that was based on XDG something back in about 2016 or 2015, somewhere around in that same time frame. But so just a side note from this, Linux Mint uses Flatpaks and has support built in. Pop! OS also uses Flatpaks, and they have support built in as well. So if this bothers you, move. That's what I would say. So some of the differences between Snaps and Flatpaks. Some of the differences. Let's look at all three, though, just to be fair. Let's include AppImages in this too. Because the funny thing is, there's nothing Canonical can do to block AppImages. From the unique features list, AppImage doesn't need an app store or a repository. It's simply a packaging format for software distributions. The idea behind AppImage was to allow the application developer to not have to worry about all the intricacies for deploying on Fedora, Red Hat, Debian, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Arch, you name it. They don't have to worry about all those intricacies. They can package it once and it will run. The other thing about it is that they can package different versions of the software, and you can pick which one you want to run. Snappy is led by Canonical. They have a central app repository that they totally control, and that is proprietary and closed. As far as the Snap and Snapd is concerned, those are open source projects, but everything that goes on behind the scenes, closed, proprietary, you can't see anything that's going on there. Flatpak features an app store called a Flat Hub. However, it's not required. Individuals can still create packages and distribute them independently of that. The target systems for AppImage is desktops, and some server applications can be deployed that way, although, to be truthful, it's not really meant for that. Snap is deployable to desktop, server, IoT devices, embedded devices, etc. Flatpak desktops, I have heard of people deploying it on servers with, CLI applications, but it's really not recommended for that. As far as the libraries and dependencies, the AppImage, the base system, the runtimes are optional, but the libraries and other dependencies have to be packaged in. As far as Snappy, base system or plugins, or it has to be packaged. So in Flatpaks, there is deep integration between free desktop, KDE, and GNOME to support Flatpak. And now I'm wondering, did Canonical really think this through with this decision, being that the major desktop environment players have all started to do deep integration with Flatpaks? What kind of harm is that going to do to them? So the initial release, the first time that AppImages were used was way back in 2004. Snappy, yeah, okay, so I was wrong, 2014. And then Flatpaks first appeared in 2015. They all deploy sandboxing of some kind or another. AppImage doesn't require sandboxing. Its intent is to be able to package the dependencies with the application so that you aren't missing anything. You don't have collisions in your file system, between different packages and different libraries that are required by that application. It isn't going to try to use one that's newer or change one that you're dependent upon and make it older, for example. Sandboxing in Snappy has basically 3 modes, or strict, classic, and developer mode. And those are varying containment capabilities, but it does run in isolation. However, it does allow access to the host OS and the host file system. Flatpaks are also isolated. They isolate through namespaces and also bubble wrap. However, they also allow access to the file system of the host. So, yeah, and this is not good. You can sandbox AppImage. You can use FireJail. You can use AppArmor. You can use bubble wrap, but it isn't required. So I just be truthful with you. AppImage doesn't have to do that. Snappy uses AppArmor, and then there's some CComp that it uses as well. Flatpak uses bubble wrap, and then they use OS Tree to manage the deployment. So if you're wondering about OS Tree, that's part of its deployment model. App installation isn't necessary with AppImages. You just change the execution permissions on the file and you're ready to go. As far as Snappy is concerned, you have to install the application as root, and then you can go from there. So you do a snap install, whatever. Trying to find the name of the application is a bit of a trick because there isn't any way that I can see in order to list the applications that are stored in the repository to be able to find the one that you need to install. You're dependent on the command line to tell you. If you type in a command, it'll come back sometimes and tell you, oh, you can install this with Snap, and this is how you do it. But in a lot of cases, it doesn't respond at all. This is the latest. This is the latest version, 22.10 of Ubuntu, and it's .2, the one that just came out. As far as Flatpaks, those are installed using the Flatpak client tools, which is the ones that Ubuntu Canonical is talking about getting rid of. What about execution? So all I have to do on AppImages is set the execution bit and it runs. Snappy, I have to use the desktop integration snap tools, and then it runs isolated within the user-defined resources. Flatpak needs to be executed using the Flatpak command, and you can do that either from the GUI or from the CLI, the command line interface. User privileges for the AppImage, it can be run with or without a root user access. Snappy requires root to install, and you can run then once it's installed with or without root, depends on the application and what its requirements are and how deep it integrates into the file system. Flatpak, same, selectively required, doesn't require root to install, however, unless you're deploying the Flatpak to a group of people and you're putting it in a common area. As far as hosting applications, the AppImages can be hosted anywhere by anybody. It's a ubiquitous format that you can just download, install wherever you like, and run it wherever it has permissions to execute. Snappy has to be hosted within the Canonical servers as far as the app is concerned, which are proprietary. and then you deploy the app from those the Canonical controlled servers. Flatpaks can be hosted anywhere by anybody. AppImages, they offer portable execution from non-system locations, so you can run it from your home directory, for example. That's fine. Snappy, no, you cannot. You have to run it, and it will assign wherever it's going to be attached to. Flatpaks, yeah, you can run it within your home directory, or you can run it on non-system areas of this as well. Central repository is the AppImage hub for AppImages, and again, it was really meant for developers to package an AppImage and deploy it from their website. The Snappy can only be, it has to go to the Snap store. You can't create your own repo. Also, the Flatpak, you can deploy from a flat hub, or you can create your own, or you can copy it. It doesn't really matter how you get it there. Running the multiple versions of the app, yeah, you can do that with AppImages. You just keep the older versions of the AppImage. Now, if you do AppImage update, then it's going to clobber your old version with the new. So you might want to copy it off before you do that, copy it somewhere. As far as Snappy is concerned, you have one version of the app, and once you do an update, you're done. You can roll back to an older version, but you can't run multiple versions simultaneously. It's either you run the current version or you roll back to the old version. And there's some reasons for that, mostly because it does Delta updates. So it doesn't deploy a full application. And I don't know, maybe you guys know of a way to copy it. I've heard some people that have figured out how to do that, but I don't know how to do it. So Flatpaks, yes, you can run different versions of the Flatpaks on your system if you wish. And the reason why that's an advantage is that I'm running and I'm happy with the Flatpak, but I get an update and I want to test it. I don't want to throw away my old one yet. I want to be able to keep it around in case the new one doesn't work, right? I mean, that's one of the things we're trying to do here, is find things that work. The other one is updating applications. You can do AppImage updates through the command line. It's the AppImage update command. In Snappy, by default, it runs automatically, but you can go in and turn off selectively the automatic updates. You can put holds on applications. You can have it done at particular times of the week. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do in there, but just remember the default is there's an update, you're going to get updated. Flatpaks, the required Flatpaks are installed, and updates using Flatpak updates have to be done by the user. So once you've installed it, it's up to you. It's fully under your control when you do it. Now, that has a good and a bad side, right? The good side is I control when the updates occur. The bad side is if I forget to update something and it was a security patch, well, I might be running without it, right? Package shows the packaging size on disk. AppImages remains archived. So the application remains archived. It doesn't unpack anything. So the size of the application is the size of the AppImage. Snappy application remains archived as well. Same thing. It remains whatever it was when you downloaded it. Flatpaks unpack. They uncompress on the client side once they install. So what about open source versus closed source? So AppImage, Flatpaks, those are entirely open source. Or, I mean, it could be a combination of them. I mean, depends on the developer on what they include with it. Snaps is open source except for the back end. The back end, as we had mentioned, is proprietary. And yeah, you don't get to see it. It's owned by Canonical. A little bit of a reminder for Canonical. This is what you said back in 2021. Dear members of the Snap community, today we'd like to announce a reboot of the Snapcrafters community. Let's call it Snapcraft the Next Generation. Our aim is to create an effective, collaborative community of developers, contributors, and users who help maintain and build the rich portfolio of snaps under the Snapcrafters umbrella. We want to make this a fully self-sustainable community, an effort where Snapcrafters can make things happen. So that's what you said you were interested in doing. As far as I know, Ubuntu only ever installed Flatpak support on Ubuntu Mate. I know it's not installed on their GNOME versions or KDE versions. It's not there. Canonical says the decision to not package Flatpak will improve the out-of-the-box experience for new users, making it clear what an Ubuntu experience is. It's not like Flatpaks is a fly-by-night one developer repository. It has many developers and many people working on them. I wouldn't call it large, but it's pretty. If you want one of the significant applications for your desktop, it's in the Flatpak repo. And it is still a growing base of applications. It is actively maintained. So they made a comment about, they weren't able to get a hold of the developers. They didn't have any direct support from the developer. I think what they're really saying here is that developer isn't under my thumb. So yeah, and that they just didn't want to do that. Well, welcome to the world of open source, Canonical. That's the way it's supposed to work. FireJail offers a setuid program that restricts the environment of untrusted applications, and it is a multi-level security. Does do Mac. It has mandatory access controls. So one of the things that FireJail has is the ability to support AppImages. And they talk about being able to support it, and all it does is FireJail allows no access by default, but has configuration for different applications to allow the proper access to resources in your host OS. All you have to do to enable it is put in --tac AppImage and then the name of the AppImage itself as it appears on disk. And then it will create the sandbox around the AppImage, and you're done. One of the things that Snap has, it also has security sandboxing. It's based on AppArmor and seccomp permissions. However, AppArmor is set up in such a way that everything is open. And so the developers have to lock down all of the things in order to make it secure. That's generally considered a bad practice in security. You'd never want to start with an open system, and because you could make mistakes. The other problem that you might have with AppArmor is when you have multiple Snap packages, they're going after the same resource. If they have conflicting permissions for a particular resource, you could leave yourself open. Some of the basic concepts of Flatpaks is they use namespaces to provide the sandbox, and then use seccomp rules in order to access resources from the host system. However, they have a concept known as portals, because normally the sandbox is completely locked down, no access to anything. Portals allow them to interact with the host environment from the sandbox. So, in conclusion, what do I think? All right, all right, let's just go through them. Let's start with AppImage. That's where we started. So AppImages by themselves offer you the ability to protect your system libraries from any changes that the AppImage might require. Because they're all self-contained within the AppImage, they're not going to disturb your host environment. AppImages by themselves don't offer any protection to the host environment, however, other than maybe some rudimentary controls that maybe the sandbox that the AppImage is creating might give you. But it isn't designed for that. The thing that really makes AppImage secure is FireJail. FireJail is integrated with AppImages, and it's very easy to be able to add that support to your AppImage by just wrapping FireJail around it. FireJail is a very good sandbox. It's used by a lot of people. And now I'm not just trying to sell you on it. I mean, I have a whole video on it, and I'll put a link up there where you can go visit it and see what it's all about. Let's go to Snappak. Snappaks are based on AppArmor. AppArmor, the problem with AppArmor is everything is open, and it's up to the developer, in this case, to be able to configure the AppArmor configuration files to lock down that snap image properly. There's a couple of problems with snaps because you might start piling on a bunch of them onto your system. And if that's the case, you could have, because it runs under a service, you could run into conflicts that occur when two different snaps are going after the same resource on your system and have conflicting permissions on how they access that resource. And if it's a system resource, that you have a potential that you could be opening up inadvertently a way that an attacker could gain access to the system and make changes and then inject malware into your host OS. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? I don't know. But if the avenue is there, I would always run away from it and say, nah, this isn't worth the risk. Flatpaks are a little bit better in that they have namespaces, they use setcomp to set permissions, but each Flatpak has its own view of the portal. If you don't specify a portal, that Flatpak gets no access to the system beyond the resources that are inside the Flatpak. That's it. The portal is the only way out into the system, and so it's a lot easier to control. Doesn't matter how many Flatpaks you have running. Each one of them is looking at their view of the system, accessing the resources that they need. So is it perfect? Is Flatpak the answer? No. There's some problems with Flatpaks too. It's possible that if it's misconfigured, and this is always the issue, right? If it's misconfigured and it allows an escape out through the portal, then and particularly if that Flatpak is a shared resource, maybe it's running as root, then you have privilege escalation that's possible. And so that is a concern. And so if I have my choice between all three, I would say none of the above. No, I'm kidding. I would pick AppImages with FireJail as my choice. I don't care how big the app image is. I don't even care how long it takes to load. The advantage to AppImages is to allow me to protect my libraries from changes that this application is going to be asking for that could inadvertently change system libraries on my system and cause havoc, crashes as in havoc. The second layer being that I can protect my system from the application by wrapping it in FireJail. And that is what you really want to do. On the other hand, Snap, because of the way AppArmor does, seems to me, this is my opinion, seems to me that it's protecting the application and not your system, because everything is open and you got to close it. If you start piling on snaps, you could have all kinds of permissions open that you did not intend for your app, the Snap application that was released. That's my biggest problem with it and why I don't like it. Flatpaks offer a better choice as far as what it's able to do, but my concern here is if it's running as root, gets misconfigured, out in the system we go. Is that likely? Is it a risk? Maybe not. Maybe it is. That's for you to decide. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. I don't, if you like Flatpaks, great, use it. Just be careful and make sure that you check what remotes you're going after, that you have known sources, that you know where you're getting it from, and apply common sense. Test it out in a private space first. Don't just let it out into your system and go, I hope this works. You don't want to do that because surprises are not fun, especially when they're security surprises. And with that, I'm stepping off my soapbox and running away. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.